Welcome back to Exotic Car Play Place, everybody. Glad you could join. And again, today we are going to get into the list of the top 5 cheapest and fastest sleeper cars available that you can get your hands on today. That's right, you don't have to have a ton of money to be able to afford to have a fun, fast car. I'm going to give you 5. Let's get into it now. Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Mark with Exotic Car Play Place, and today. So the first cheap, fast sleeper car on my list happens to go to the 2003 to 2005 Dodge Neon SRT4, which was developed solely under the PVO Group, which is the Performance Vehicle Operations Department within Chrysler themselves. They did a vast number of upgrades on these cars, from turbocharging. They created extra strength within the crankshaft and the oil cooling. They utilized Molle pistons. Everything was beefed up to provide a lot more stable operation under heavy boost condition. When these vehicles came out back in 2003, they were literally the second fastest Dodge available within the lineups, second only to the Viper. These cars were fast enough to make many Porsches blush. For example, this could dust a Porsche Boxster. It could hold its own with a base 911 Carrera in its day, because the 2.4-liter 4-cylinder turbocharged engine in this car punched out a massive 230 horsepower and about 250 pound-feet of torque, and launched this mini supercar from 0 to 60 mile per hour in about 5.6 seconds, quarter mile time in about 14 seconds flat, and was able to top out to a dizzying 153 miles per hour. Because it was turbocharged, it was also very tunable and easy modification capabilities. What adds to the desirability is the fact that they come with a 5-speed manual gearbox. So all of this fun and excitement can be had for an extremely low price. $5,000 or less gets you into a very nice example that hasn't been overly beat up. So the second choice on my cheap, fast sleeper cars list goes to the Audi B5 S4. That is the 99 to 2001 Audi S4, which is essentially powered by a twin-turbo 2.7-liter 6-cylinder engine that has 5 valves per cylinder, all-wheel drive, and also teed up with a 6-speed manual gearbox. These are great proportions. They are truly an enthusiast favorite because of their size, their magnitude, their proportions, and their clean styling looks. Now, what makes it such a sleeper is it does in fact slightly look like mom's car. And don't let that fool you, because with 261 horsepower and a massive 295 pound-feet of torque, this car launches from 0 to 60 miles per hour in a scant 5.7 seconds. These are essentially the quintessential Euro car. They represent everything European German sports sedans were all about. Taut design, well-balanced, high horsepower, high quality, and beautiful examples today can cost you as little as $8,000 to $10,000. Now again, another word of caution: if you're buying a used S4, be very, very careful, because they are not without their flaws. For example, problems like diverter valves, rear main seals, chain tensioners, gaskets, coolant temperature sensors, weak clutches that slip, and as well turbos. If you find a car that has not had turbos replaced yet, likely you will in short order. One more big one: don't forget, if you haven't yet changed the timing belt and water pump, you might as well do it right away before you even get started. And the third cheap, fast sleeper car on my list goes to the E39 BMW 540i. From 1995 to 2003, BMW created this car that was second to the M5, the second tier down, that produced 282 horsepower and 310 pound-feet of torque from its normally aspirated V8 engine. Now, it was limited to 155 miles per hour, but typical for a BMW, it will likely go far beyond that if you defeat the governor. Because it's a 4-door sedan, it tends to fly under the radar. But don't let that fool you, because this car will do a 0 to 60 run in 6 seconds flat, and with its rear-wheel drive and 5-speed manual gearbox, you better believe it will light up your day. Now, scouring over the Trader, I was able to find versions of this car anywhere from $2,000 to $8,000, with the average, the mean, being around $5,000 even, for a relatively decent example with reasonable miles on it. These have their own flavor that we'll never yet see again in our lifetime. Because these cars are aging and they're getting up there, there is a host of problems that you have to contend with. Now, consider things like window regulators that fall out of the tracks, or suspension bushings that squeak and make a lot of noise. How about critical engine parts, water pumps? How about the plastic chain guides that will allow the chains to flop loose? or electrical gremlins throughout, just due to sheer age. Cooling system and oil leaks is also another thing that you will have to contend with. But if you find a well-sorted example, these are truly one of the best sleeper cars with the great BMW flavor that you'll love for years to come. So the next car on the list is the Chrysler 300C. Yes, definitely sleeper car, one of the sleeper cars of the century. Take a look at it. They look like the gray-haired golf course special, but in fact there's a lot more lurking under the wings there. And these will give many Mustangs and even Corvette owners a run for their money. And with this type of power and torque, it wouldn't take much to scare the boots off of a Mustang or a Corvette owner. And as well, it doesn't take much to roast those rears on this wonderful hot rod. Now, sadly, there's a few problems that will be associated with the 300C. Consider transmission issues. Sometimes they require a programming, sometimes they just fail. And it could mean slipping or not shifting at all, or extreme jerkiness, particularly at low speeds when changing gears. There's sudden jerks. Often a problem with the transmission. You may also find problems with lighting issues. You may find problems with window regulators where they stop functioning altogether, or axle seals tend to leak. Either way, for a 2012 you can get for 10 grand. It's a lot of car for your money. So my number 5th fast cheap sleeper car for about $2,000 to $6,000 goes to a 2005-2006 Mazda Speed 6. These cars are powered with a revised Mazda MZR 2.3 liter double overhead cam 16 valve 4-cylinder engine that includes a steel crankshaft, enlarged crank pins, direct fuel injection, and is bolted to a Hitachi turbocharger compressing up to as much as 15.5 psi through an air-to-air intercooler. And with all of that said, this car produces 274 horsepower and about 280 pound-feet of torque. Not only that, there's more to it than just the power. In addition, the Mazda Speed 6 is a unibody chassis with an additional cross brace behind the rear seats and a hefty crossbody beam under the dashboard, all with the intent on providing more stability and strength within the chassis, which Mazda claims is an improvement of about 48 to 50% gain in torsional rigidity. It all equates to stiffer handling and higher cornering speeds. So what also makes them exciting is they're all-wheel drive, but they come equipped with a 6-speed manual gearbox, and they're able to launch from 0 to 60 miles per hour in a scant 6.2 seconds. Not quite as quick as an STI or an Evo, however, it is plenty quick to have a little fun after you drop off the kids at school. So I'm glad you guys stuck around to the end, and make sure you hit that link over there. You want to learn more about reliability of some of these great cars, you're going to want to hit that link. And I'd love to hear, guys, below what you have to think about this list. And if you have any different ones, please include it in the list down below in the comments. I'd love to hear what you guys think. Do you have a better choice of cheap sleeper car available? And I'd really like to hear from you guys. It's all about the interaction. Share with me your opinion of some of the best sleeper cars on the market today.